Hey everyone, welcome back. Thank you for joining us today as we are live from the Batcave. My name is Nate and this is my co-host
Joel, but I'm like really confused.
Bro, I thought I'd spice it up a bit.
Bro, are you the Riddler now?
Bro, I thought I'd spice it up a bit. I thought I'd
just try to spice it up a bit. Episode 8, and you thought you chuck a little spice on it.
Let me add a little bit of spice to that.
You really took me off guard there. That was brilliant. I like that. Do that every week. No.
Every week.
Oh God.
Hello.
Hello, listeners. How you doing?
Today
what's happening in your life?
is the Batcave podcast thing. Yay! No. So we have an update on the everlasting Batcave heaters. If any of you are avid listeners, you know that we've been trying to get heaters installed because it is absolutely freezing. Well, we can safely say the heaters have been installed. But now it is absolutely boiling.
It's too hot. It's too hot, and I can't turn them off. I don't know how to turn them off. I'm technically incapable. I don't know what it is.
We are both sat here at either end of like the 20-foot long bat signal shaped table in the Batcave.
Yeah.
Tops off, tits hanging out, just completely sweating our lives out. So
yeah.
I mean,
sweating beyond belief, like. But it's nice to have heaters, you know. It's nice. It would be nice if they weren't melting my eyeballs.
Yeah, that would be ideal. Let's use that word, ideal.
Yeah. So apart from the fact that we are slowly losing all the water content from our body, and we will no longer be 80% water, what's been going on in your life, Nathan?
Nothing too big. We did
working on some videos for film form.
Yeah, we did that Casey Neistat challenge 2 weeks ago, and then the week after that we kind of just went back to what our life usually was. But now I've come back to the routine of waking up about 5:30, 6ish, which has been pretty cool. Longer days, a lot more time to get stuff done. It's been cool.
Mm.
So productive
working man.
things, yeah, bro. Well, trying to be anyway.
Listeners of the show may be familiar with this term, but I've been doing nothing, as always. Every week, same thing, isn't it? It's just this podcast. No, I've been doing some stuff, you know, writing and writing scripts for stuff, you know, spitballing some ideas. And me and Nathan are going to try and work on something very soon, but, you know, nothing to tell you guys about yet. So
in the books, like.
Yes. Something in the books. So, Nathan, what do you think? I know what you're about to ask me then, bro. Ask me the question, go on.
Well, first of all, I was just going to say that there's been a big variation in podcasts as what's come out. But I think we are pretty much on the same wavelength. And what is thy word on thy web?
Right, I think you're adding spice to everything today. The word on the web. I'm
going to be speaking Japanese next pod, you watch.
Arigato gozaimasu. Well, there's a million words on the web, and I don't know why I can't think of any of them, so let me get them up. Okay, cool. So, PS5 was revealed, along with a bunch of games.
Bro!
I know, you made a video about this, but, like, you know...
I made two. I made one on the PS5 reveal and some of the games, and I made one on the Miles Morales Spider-Man trailer. Yes,
so, a lot of those games looked cool, but we are a comic book movie podcast. And we don't speak about games that often, so you best know Spider-Man Miles Morales is the reason I brought this topic up. But the PS5 looks great. I had a lot of friends who played on Xbox earlier on, and I currently have an Xbox One. But I'm thinking maybe I'll switch over to the PS5 because I know you'll probably get it because you're a PS boy yourself.
This is my backstory. So I think everyone kind of starts with the same, like, you know, you'll have a PS2 and then maybe you'll have a Wii at some point. You know, the standard stuff that your family buy.
Mate, I started with the VTech.
Oh yeah, but you got that 3 years of extra life, haven't you? So it's different.
Yeah, true.
But no, basically my first ever real console that I had for myself was an Xbox 360, and then I had a PS3 at my dad's, didn't play that much, and then I moved to Xbox One because everyone was getting the Xbox One. It's trash, and then I met Morgan and Sam, and they were like, "Aye, but PS4 is pretty cool." So I got a PS4, and I love the PS4. And even though I just spent over $1,000 on a PC, I'm now currently saving for when the PS5 drops.
PS5 drops.
And hopefully they do a Miles Morales Spider-Man.
I think they're doing it around Christmas time though. So if that's happening, like my parents don't have to buy it for me or anything, but I would like see every present I get this Christmas time from everyone to be some money.
I'm the kind of bloke that's like, say if something is coming, it's like a Christmas release, but it comes out in like November 28th, and it's like Christmas release. Then I don't want to wait till December 25th. I want to get it on November 28th. I want to get it the day it drops. So I can easily be like, can I have some Christmas money early? Or just be like, right, just don't give me anything for Christmas and I'll just get this sorted.
I was just like, to everyone who's getting me a Christmas present, I was just like, give me money because I'm buying the PS5. Like stuff like that. I mean, I could just probably buy it with my student grants.
Yeah. Well, for anyone who isn't aware, which is probably all of you, me and the Film Foam guys and Joel, we like to have a couple of games online, but we all got PlayStation. He's got Xbox. We're kind of limited to all like cross-platform games, but Minecraft's a cool game, so we're good.
Minecraft's a great game. Like we have fun. yeah, it's we've been limited to cross-platform games, but that's not too much of a limiter. Like the only thing I'd really like to play with you guys that we don't play is GTA 5.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Well, bro, literally, GTA 5 is now good. Is gonna be GTA 5 Online is gonna be free to people who have PS4 on the PS5, and also up until the release of the PS5, everyone on PS4 was getting like $1 million a month online. So maybe I should just buy it on my partner's PlayStation 4. Well, maybe you should just buy a PS4 now, and then in 3 to 4 months buy a PS5.
Absolutely not under any circumstances will I be doing.
Bro, we're filmmakers. We got so much money. What do you want about?
Mate, it's all props. it's all prop money. You know this. You know this as well as anyone.
Is that what it is? I might have to go and apologise to my local shop.
I might have to go down to the Premier and tell them like I fraudulented them.
Oh.
No, but the PS5, as much as it looks like a router and the Xbox Series X looks like a mini fridge, and I am a bit of a chubbier boy, so I do like a mini fridge in my room. But if you guys are going for the PS5, then I might go for the PS5 as well, because then I also get the added benefit of I'm a massive God of War fan, and I'm also a massive Spider-Man fan.
Well, this is the thing as well. Like, I hope, because obviously there's going to be a big backwards compatibility like part of it, and also the PS5, like the hardware of it is very similar to the PS4. So I'm hoping just all games are cross-platform, because Miles Morales, I want to get that for PS5, but I don't want to have to buy Spider-Man PS4 again. Do you know what I mean? Like I've got the special edition one, and it's in this really cool box.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure they're gonna make that like backwards compatible at the very least.
But that's the thing, I have loads of games. For example, I've still got the Arkham games. I've played through most of it. Well, the first one anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a bunch of Xbox games I still have to play. Like I have Jedi Fallen Order that I haven't played on my Xbox yet, because I'm a very busy man with a very busy writing schedule. But yeah, like writing keeps getting in the way for playing games. So there's a bunch of games I'm still gonna play on my Xbox One. I'm not gonna chuck my Xbox One out when I get a PS5 anyway. So
that's what I'm saying. I'm definitely gonna keep, because obviously my girlfriend has a PS4. We play stuff together. Like, and even if you can't play people, like, even if I can't play with someone on a PS4 whilst on a PS5, I'd still like to log into my PS4. I'm not gonna get rid of it.
Yeah, my girlfriend's got a PS4 as well. Even though I don't play with her currently, she does. She doesn't have any online capabilities, but it would be nice if also there was like backwards play, because I'm not sure if she's gonna get a PS5, but like if we could like queue up into a game that doesn't really care what console you're on, and then just like you can all play together.
So, for example, now if let's say Spider-Man PS4 / PS5 came out with an online mode, right? And they did like the gimmick was like Spider-Verse whatever, and PS5 players can play with PS4 players. That'd be cool. But then you got to think of future game releases, because once the PS5 is out, they're gonna stop making new games for the PS4. So I think the Miles Morales thing might be possible on PS4. I'm not too sure. I know for a fact it's definitely all the stuff we've seen has been in the PS5 engine, so I'm not completely sure.
I mean, it all looks great though. The PS5 looks like a router, and I'm so hoping that there's a Miles Morales version of the PS5 coming out because I don't want the white and black one.
Well, this is the thing. Obviously, the PS4 came out in like 2014, and then the red and white, which looks amazing, PS4 came out in 2018.
Yeah.
So like, if anyone who got a PS4 before that, it's kind of like, right, I already have a PS4. Now, if they release this with the PS5, even if it's just a bit more money, at least then we can choose what one we're gonna get.
Yeah, exactly. I think there might be like some special editions that come out because they always used to do that, like pairing a game with the console.
Yeah.
So and like
hopefully sooner though.
Yeah. Hopefully,
so
well, I think it's probably going to be around Christmas time. So that's the thing. If it is a November release, but then they say, well, newer versions of the PS5 are going to come out.
Well, that's the
around
thing.
Christmas time, I'll buy it then.
Because I don't want to like pre-order or buy the PS5 and then like a month later they'll be like new Spider-Man edition. I'm like, bro, I'd rather that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Then you're gonna have to waddle down to your local Kex and trade it in for the PS5. Trade it in for the PS5
staff discount.
Newest one. Staff discount. Cheeky bugger. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to the Spider-Man Miles Morales game. Obviously, it's not as big as PS4 Spider-Man, but it's also not a DLC.
I'm not sure what's going on with it. Yeah, like they're saying, there's some people who are like, no, it's a game in its own right, and then there's other people who go, it's a DLC, and like for people from the same company now, and then there's people going, it's a game in its own right, and therefore Spider-Man's dead, and then there's other people going, it's a game in its own right, but there's still going to be a sequel to Spider-Man, and it's like, bro, just let me know whether I'm getting 20 hours of content or 2. That's all I want to know.
Yeah, that's what I really want to know.
I want to know the length of the game.
And I want to know how much it's going to be, because that's probably going to tell us. If it's going to be a £30 game, then it's probably going to be a lot less content. If it's going to be a £50 game, it's probably going to be a lot more.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I paid about £50-60 for my special edition, and obviously that was a pre-order and everything, but it got to a point where the actual game was just like £10 less.
Yeah.
So, I'm well happy with what I purchased. Obviously, you got the edition with the bloody PS4 as well, which is like £400, but yeah, I always like the stuff that you can get with like special editions. Like there's a Dark Souls special edition that you could get like a figurine that was like super cool, like, and it looked like it was ripped straight out of the game. So there's one of them for the Avengers game with Captain America. It's pretty cool. It's expensive.
Yeah, might have to get that though. might student loan.
This is a dilemma I have in mind. I don't know whether because obviously it was meant to come out in May. It's been pushed back. But I don't know whether to get it when it comes out on PS4 or wait to see if they do a PS5 release.
Right.
And get on PS5.
Yeah. Well, the thing is about my room, I currently don't have any shelving or anything like that. But I do have like these big ugly chest of drawers in my room. So what I was thinking of was I was going to hang my TV up on a wall where the chest of drawers are. And then I was going to put like a display cabinet there. And I was going to get a display cabinet just for all my collectibles and stuff. Because I don't like where I'm putting them currently.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I love game collectibles and stuff.
Yeah, cool.
What's a word on the web for you? Because I think if we go too much into the PS5, then we'll leave nothing for your lovely film form videos.
Oh, thank you very much. So I have a bit of news on the Snyder Cut, and apparently it's gonna delve more into Dick Grayson's. You know how in was it BVS or Justice League? I'm not sure. We basically see like the Robin suit and like Joker and sprayed over
there is. It's BVS and it's been like it's been like
torn up and vandalized, whatever.
Spray painted on and stuff.
Yeah. So apparently the Snyder Cut is gonna further address the mysterious fate of Dick Grayson, which.
Okay. Do you think they're going to retcon Jared Leto out?
Because this is the thing, right? Birds of Prey just like. They mentioned Mr. J, but like the only time we ever see him was in like an animation sequence at the start.
You sounded like your balls were getting squeezed then, and you were just only slightly from Harlem. Like you were only slightly from Boston.
Yo, I'll take that because I wouldn't even thought I was slightly. So, no,
you just thought you were from the valleys, like
Mr. J, Justin down the road.
Yeah, good old Martin.
Martin. No. Yeah. I don't think they're gonna. Matthew Lillard. I don't think he's hella not Welsh, by the way.
No, but I know he's not, but it's just the Llylad is
Matthew Llylad from Llanfair Cuth. So,
bro, if you just did that in one take, then I was gonna say.
Well, Matthew Llylad from Llanfair Cuth Gwyngyth Gogerich yn job at y Sirio Dog o Goch.
Oh, mate, half the viewership just left.
They're just like, bro, I got halfway to this town and
they've just switched it off. They're like, oh my god, he started speaking Elvish. What's going on?
Bro, they'll come back in 2 weeks. They'll come back next week now and they'll be like, oh, please, no speaking another language, and I will be speaking Japanese. No, anyway, I don't think they're gonna retcon him out necessarily. I think they're still gonna mention stuff that he's done, but like, I just don't think we're gonna see him again. I just don't think we're gonna see.
Well, I'm pretty sure he has like a big, like, is it either him or Harley has like a big thing to do with that Robin?
I mean, maybe. I'm not saying, because obviously we don't. Oh, excuse me. I'm not sure if we're gonna see Dick Grayson.
Keeping you up with me, bro. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I don't know if they've casted Dick Grayson or anything, but
Cough, Danny Shepard. What? Who said that?
Yeah, what? Cough, Neil Patrick Harris. No, I'm joking.
Bro,
he voices Nightwing in one of the Red Hood movies.
Bro, he's Nightwing and Spider-Man. What a guy. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna retcon him out. I just don't think. I think when they mention him, they're not gonna go too into detail. Like, we're not gonna see a physical representation of whatever that was.
I agree. I think so as well. I don't know. I would like them to just say like this is just like Harley's new lover, who's just like taken the Joker because the Joker's gone missing, so he's just taken the Joker identity because that's the only way Harley will love him.
I mean, it's not bad.
No, I know. I'm a good story writer, but like I just like that's what I would like.
By the way, I forgot to tell you, I got a job at Warner Brothers yesterday.
Yeah,
and it's happening.
It's happening. But mate, when Warner Brothers comes knocking on those doors, you best believe I've got a writing partner, and his name's fucking Nathan from Film Form.
Bro, you best believe I'm showing up dressed as Shaggy, being like, right, James Gunn, Scooby-Doo 3, let's get on it.
Let's go. No, you'd have to show up in like. I'd show up in full dog makeup. No one would know who I was until you walk through the door in a blue Falcon outfit.
Bro, it's like Brian. Oh. Bro, if I worked at Warner Brothers, I just keep Scoob the same. Take Fred out because I'd rather him not be there than be portrayed the way he was because they did him a disservice. And just have Matthew Llylad voice Shagwar.
Norville Shagwar. Fair enough. But yeah, no, I would love that. I would just love a story to explain the reason that man who's quite clearly not the Joker we want or that we will need is there. But I don't know if they're gonna need to do that, right? Because they're recasting the Joker for the other Batman universe that we're putting together now with Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson.
I watched the Weekly Planet podcast and they call him Robert Pattinson or Robert Battenbat. It's just stupid.
Well, the thing is, even though it's pronounced Joaquin Phoenix, if you look at the way it's spelt, it looks like in some weird way it could be Joker. It's like
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin, yeah.
You must be Joaquin. You must be joking. Yeah, no, I think I'm excited for the Snyder Cut. Don't get me wrong, but also has this taught fans to do like other bad things. Which as it goes, let's segue into my next piece of news because this is a perfect segue. Fans have too much control? Has PC gone mad? A lot of things are being removed from streaming platforms.
That's true.
Because of the Black Lives Matter movement. And as much as I think the Black Lives Matter movement is such an important piece of history right now, and these riots will be like the riots, the protests, the George Floyd situation, all of that will be remembered in history. I don't think that taking these things off the streaming platform will be remembered in such the same way.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, okay? So some things I can understand from like their perspective, from the people from like the studio, but then there's certain things like so what was it? Was it Little Britain, when they had a character who was white, they had an actor who was white who was dressed as a black character?
Yeah.
Okay, sure, but then there's stuff like, there's the film White Chicks where there's black actors dressed up as white women. Now, I don't think any white person had a problem with that at all. Okay,
No.
but is it not the same context? And obviously, I know, like, it's Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, they're both
100%.
in the context of they're both in the context of comedy, but one is being judged because of one race portraying a different race, and that is unacceptable. But the other movie is also portraying comedy in the exact same way, just the races are reversed. And Black Lives Matter is for equality, so yes, they should be treated in the same vein. But I understand that Little Britain is a bit more racy.
Oh no, completely. I understand that.
Yeah,
especially with. No, go on.
No, I was just gonna say it's a tad bit.
They do go a bit far.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't remember any racial things going too far on that show.
Yeah,
but then again, I don't know.
I remember them definitely putting on accents and stuff like that, and maybe pushing a bit too far. But I don't think he was ever like discriminative, or I don't think anyone ever actually made any racial slurs towards any race.
No.
Sure. The thing that confused
I don't
me
think so.
was the British in between. I say the British as if the American one's still going on. The British in betweeners.
The American ones are
ugh. Start. I don't understand. Maybe I just can't remember something that happened in it, but I don't recall there being. Is it because there's an all-white cast? Is that why it's been taken down?
Yeah, I have no idea why the In-Betweeners was taken down.
Or is it just not even linked to the Black Lives Matter, and just because some people got offended by stuff they said?
Yeah, maybe that. That's clear, right? That's the thing. I think if things are going to be taken down, there needs to be clear statements on why they're taken down.
Yeah.
What things that they think that they don't want to portray for their streaming services, like BBC iPlayer and like Netflix. If they say we don't want to be seen as a streaming service that would allow this type of behavior, then they need to put out a public statement saying and explaining why each thing they've taken off has been taken off, and what about that behavior they will not tolerate. Because again, it's about future-proofing your ideology. Because if your ideology is that you can't it's no nonsense, you cannot put up with any slack if there is any sort of thing that brings race into question at all, and that is the policy, then that's fine. But then you need to future-proof that and be like, okay, so now new filmmakers need to know not to put that sort of stuff into their films if they want to be eligible for streaming platforms.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like it needs to be apparent. I feel like if, for example, there's a really, really great episode and really good scene in Brooklyn Nine-Nine where Terry Crews talks about how there was a cop who tried to arrest him because
in his own neighborhood. Because,
to quote Terry in that episode, he was a big scary black man wandering around in the night or something along those lines. And obviously he was saying, I've got the cop card, I can be like, I'm a cop, but his daughters probably won't have that in the future. And it's a really emotional episode. It's a really great episode. But that, they're talking about race. They're,
and it's done well. It's
across.
like
exactly.
they've not skirted around the issue at all. They've got straight to what the issue is, how it affects him in his day-to-day life, and how him being a police officer has sort of alleviated that pain for him there. But he understands that there will be hundreds, if not thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of cases where that won't happen.
Exactly.
And the person is not going to be a police officer, and they won't get off lightly.
Exactly. And this is what brings me on to that was an episode that was like last year or the year before, I'm not sure, but it was in the modern day, and he was putting, let's say I don't know if I'd say a positive light, but like a good, awareness, kind of thing.
Yeah. Like I mean, the rest of the show was still comedic, but they were serious when they needed to be serious.
Exactly, and this what brings me on to the fact that you've seen there'll be interviews of people who do Little Britain or In Between Us, and they're like, oh, if the show was made today, this year, would it be allowed on TV? And they've all said no, probably not, just because of how much things have changed. But back in the time it came out, more people seen it as acceptable, which, let's be honest, they probably did at that time. But let's go into In Between Us specifically. So we're not specifically talking about race or anything. We're just offensive language and swear words and stuff like that.
Yeah, like one of the people, what's his name? The guy who plays Jay. He has a YouTube channel now. He said he's completed it, mate. Oh, yeah, Buckley. I should know that. I've watched it a lot. But he said he would never show his kids the In-Betweeners. They won't watch that. They won't watch that show.
Yeah, can't now.
And yeah, and that's such a weird thing for the half of a generation to know you to be famous for something, but it's something that you wouldn't show your kids.
Yeah.
But at the time you were doing it, you were proud of it. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, because at the time, it was funny to more people. Obviously now there's people who will say, that you can't be saying stuff like that. There's an episode, I'm pretty sure, where they're playing frisbee and they hit someone with a disability in the head with the said frisbee.
Yeah.
And at the time, that's the kind of thing where people would be like, that you can't be doing that, not right into a studio by any means to be but just they got away with that, gee golly. Yeah. But now it's
nowadays there is writing into the studio and just someone having a go.
It's not even right into the studio, it's just Twitter and online petitions, just everything.
Exactly. Yeah, Twitter has so much power, and I can say myself that I have something of a disability myself, and when I see comedy and stuff based around someone's disability, as a comedian I always think that's absolutely fine, because the people who are portraying it are fine with it. Now, I don't know if the actor who was portraying a disabled person was disabled. That is a different matter, right? So it's maybe in the future, if there is a Twitter war on how can you do that? How can you throw a frisbee at a disabled person in this show for comedic effect? That's offensive. But then the actor who plays the disabled person, if they are actually disabled, stands up for the show, then do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's I think PC culture and cancelling shows and saying that they're not appropriate for times has gone too far when you're getting offended on other people's behalf.
Yeah,
because that's happened to me quite a lot.
I feel like people have, that's what people do. They get offended on other people's behalf. They write about it because obviously.
Yeah,
it's one thing, the people who are not black, who are standing up with this Black Lives Matter movement, there's that. And
that's being an ally, right? Yeah, that's being an ally to an already moving.
That's the word I was after. There's been an ally to a cause or an offence, or a defence, let's say, and then there's being offended on somebody else's behalf, and I feel like there's a fine line.
Exactly.
I feel with these shows, it's a case of offense on other people's behalf and not.
Exactly. I always thought it was a bit silly if you'd be offended on someone else's behalf. A lot because it happened to me early on, when I was struggling with walking a bit more than I am now, because I'm pretty good at walking these days. Nathan will tell you I'll skip and a hop up the stairs every now and then.
Skipping the step.
But go for a run. But
Fanta Lemon.
Yeah, from my Fanta Lemon. But when I was struggling to walk for a bit more, I felt a lot of people around me were just people who were my friends who did, who to me would joke about it. But then the moment someone would say something you know, and it wouldn't even be offensive to me. I'd laugh and I'd be like, that's funny. They'd be there like white knighting me. And I get that, you know, you want to be protective of people that you feel are in a disadvantaged position, but don't be offended on my behalf, because I'm not offended, and you're just wasting your time. And realistically, all you're doing is starting more trouble for me.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
That's the thing. Like, there's been, I feel like a decent example is me and you, because there's been people who have, like, I won't name no names, but people have like been like, oh yeah, it isn't like you can tell what his disability is, or you can tell this, tell that. Like, well, bro, you can't. But there has been times where I've texted you, be like, "Sup, Captain Sciatica Pants, how you doing?" And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I wouldn't have said that if by any means I thought that you'd be like, why the fuck is he just like...
Yeah. If I just turned around one day and I was all of a sudden just offended at those types of jokes, which would never happen, because like, as it is, I'm easygoing on like even offensive type jokes. Jokes that are meant to offend me will, to me, be even funnier, right? So yeah. I'm a weird case study. But like for people like my grandmother, who has a wicked sense of humor, but if she's going around in a mobility scooter and I come up to her and I said, "What's happening, Hot Wheels?" Do you know what I mean? She's fine with it.
Yeah.
Like then some random bloke off the street come over to me and go, "You can't say that. She's an elderly woman. She needs the scooter. That's so offensive." If my nan's fine with it, she'll just tell him like, "Mate, this is my grandson. Leave me alone." Like, but just, you know, it's dependent on the person.
Yeah.
And I think within media, especially, if you have a defensible position, then I think it's good to push boundaries. With race, I understand there is a serious talk that hasn't been happening that needs to be happening now, and this is not the time to be making jokes or to be pushing the boundaries with race, because, you know, there's no such thing as too soon, but there is something as such a thing as disrupting the cause, right? So it's like right now there's a talk about race that's not been going on, and it really does need to be happening and stuff, and right now is not the time to be pushing the boundaries with race. But stuff like ableism and stuff like that, like, to me, I think the boundaries have been pushed a lot by people within those cultures.
Yeah.
Like, to say with black comedy, it's happened before, like, as well. Like, there is a really good comedian who was at the Hot Water Comedy Club not too long ago in Liverpool, and she is, I think you're supposed to call them little people, but she doesn't call herself a little person. She calls herself a dwarf. And she makes the most crass and offensive jokes about herself. And she's a dwarf, and like she's really good with it and stuff, and she's very funny, and it's her job, and she loves doing it. She loves telling jokes about her disability to the world in order to, you know, make people laugh. It's like what fuels her as a person, right? Yeah. Now, not all dwarfs are going to do that, and I'm not saying they will, but those boundaries could be pushed by people within the community.
Well, that's something kind of similar as well. I was watching this John Mulaney stand-up, and he was talking about like a show he was going to do, and I'm going to say this word for quotation, well, there's two words, I'm not going to say one, but I'll say the other just for, you know, historical accuracy, let's say, and it was about the word midget, okay? Now, personally, I wouldn't, you know, if I was referring to it, I'd say dwarf, but he was basically had a joke which contained the word midget, and then somebody from either the crew or something was like, you can't say the word midget. Saying midget is as bad as saying the N-word. And his response was like, well, me and you have just said the word midget, but neither of us are saying what the N-word is. So how can you say that it's that bad? Like, if you really think it's going to offend, that's one thing. But if you can be like, it's as bad as this word, but you won't even say the other word, but you'll say this word, then it's like, I feel like that's a kind of analogy in itself of...
Yeah, exactly. And that comedian that was at the Hot Water Comedy Club, I'm forgetting her name, but I will definitely check up on that next week and inform. But she even said, like, when she was trying to explain herself, like what she is, because she calls herself a dwarf, but she does this little spiel about and then she says, I don't know what I'm supposed to call myself anymore because everyone else keeps getting offended. And I thought it was very funny because, like, the reason that she believes that this term little person, which could be offensive in itself, has come about is not because she was fed up of being called a dwarf. In fact, that's what she still wants to be known as is a dwarf.
Yeah.
Right. So like, yeah, she was saying stuff like a lot of people have been offended on my behalf, and that is the reason that like the things that you call us change from midget, dwarf to little person. But
yeah,
you know, it's
I get it's hard to see because it's genuinely just down to personal preference. I was watching a I think it was like a Red Power Ranger Morphicon or Comic Con panel, and there were some people there who were white and some people there who were black, and so somebody asked a question and he used the term African American, and that happened a few times. And then at one point one of the guys just went, right, this is aimed at no one because it's no one's fault, but we are black, okay? African American sounds more racist. And I just kind of paused the video and I was like, that's probably the biggest divide I've ever heard, because you do hear people saying,
I'm not black, I'm African American. Yeah, I've heard that. And
then you hear, for example, people like this. So I've heard people just be like, my skin color is black, so just call me black. It's fine. So that's why, because especially when it comes to us, like because African American is what you hear most frequently. Now, if I was referring to a black person, would I don't know whether they'd be offended if I said black or if I said African British, because I don't know if that's really a term, or so
it's not much of a thing over here either. No, and like realistically, like I have some. Yeah, this is gonna sound so cliche because everyone has black friends, but I have friends who are black, and
this is the thing.
I've never called them like African British. That would just sound like in my head really racist.
I have American friends who are black, and I'm calling them black because they have told me that that's what they want to be classed as. I've never once asked them, but like it came up in conversation at some point between a big group of us, and they were just like, "Oh, and by the way, just, if you ever need to refer to us, just we're black, okay?" And I was like, okay, bro, cool. And I know it'll be discussed. Like I've never just come up in conversation with it. But if somebody were to ask, then I'd know what to say. But you don't know every single person in the world.
No, exactly. But like, tangent aside, because this is based on the media and stuff like that. I think everyone needs to still protest. Everyone needs to still, in my opinion, use whatever tools you have in order to support the terms, because you will never know what it's like to be the other person. You know what I mean? So you just need to use everything within your power to support this cause. Whether it means that some of our favourite shows or some of our favourite shows of old that are not very appropriate anymore gets taken down. I think for now that is okay. Maybe it's a conversation we need to have after, newer equality and a newer sense of justice happens in the places where it needs it most. Because although, the UK has a lot less in stats for police brutality or racial profiling, that's because we're a smaller country. Yeah. It still happens. It still happens everywhere, and we all need to do our best in order to protest and look for a better tomorrow for everyone, not just for your own race, because we are one race. There is just we are the human race. This is there's no divide between black and white people. Well, there shouldn't be, but at the moment, including police brutality and racial profiling from people who aren't even the police as well, there is a divide, and there shouldn't be, because we are just the human race. So
word.
Moving on from that, do you have any other news?
So I have one more thing which is like very interesting to me, and that is to do with the big man Henry Cavill himself, the super bloke, the Witcher, the bad guy in the new Mission Impossible.
He's not really new at this point, mate.
No, the guy who reloads his sleeves. He is, it's not confirmed, but he's pretty much eyeing up a new contract with Warner Brothers and DC, but it's all, I don't know about cameo appearances, but background characters. So, no main films, no leading characters. But
no standalones.
No standalones, but, Black Adam's coming soon. That's potential, and maybe even if they did go further with anything Justice League related after Snyder Cut, maybe it could be for the Snyder Cut, because if they need to reshoot for someone, they reshoot for Henry Cavill because he has a new contract. Maybe, But what do you think about that? So, he's got quite a few under the belt as well, but it's pretty much all secondary / side character roles as Superman.
Right. Yeah. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I think Superman is a heavy hitter when it comes to DC. He's the Boy Scout, right? Yes, he's the golden example for superheroes and stuff. Cutting him out from like just having his own standalone movie is not the way to go. Right, because like you have tried a million times with Batman, and there have been times where people would rather you just took a break from Batman for 10 years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than just doing more Batman and failing, or doing more Batman and having subpar Batman. Okay, and there has been asked. There has been asked from the fans to either take a break or really like knuckle down the best Batman that you can give us, in order to portray the character properly, because there has been loads of controversy in the like nerd sphere about us getting suboptimal Batman stories. No one has ever complained about Man of Steel. Like, if they have, it's been critiques about the movie, but they always want to see more.
I was gonna say, stay tuned for the next film video.
Are you about to critique the hell out of Man of Steel?
No, it's actually the video that's coming out after this is uploaded, so tomorrow for the time of upload.
Right.
And I'm ranking the DCEU basically.
Yes. Now, but that's maybe it's a broad statement to say, no one's ever. People probably complained about Man of Steel, but a lot of people loved it, right? And I feel like this is the thing that's happening. We're getting such a divide from the comics and the movies right now that the heavy hitters won't be the heavy hitters forever, as we've seen in Marvel. Guardians of the Galaxy was not a heavy hitter in the comic book universe, and now it is.
Absolutely not. Same with Iron Man.
Yeah, Iron Man was around.
Yeah.
He was there. But people who were heavy hitters in the Marvel Universe, aka Spider-Man, were still treated with the utmost respect.
Yeah.
Right? Now, whether this is down to Warner Brothers or whether this is down to Henry Cavill, I don't know. But from my two perspectives, if it's down to Warner Brothers, that's a massive mistake. If Henry Cavill will sign on for standalone Superman movies, give him those standalone Superman movies. There is no bigger mythos in the DC universe than the one that Superman has brought, because although he might not have the extensive rogues gallery of, well, he does, but like, although he may not, of the Flash and Batman, right?
Yeah, I get
he doesn't have the most recognizable villains, but you've still got Doomsday, Bizarro, Lex Luthor, Zod. That's 4 you can name that are like people that you would know. But the reason that he's a heavy hitter is because he has been there through other people's villains all the time. One of the best Superman stories I've ever read was the comic version of the game Injustice, in which the Joker had ruined Superman's life, right? Yeah. And like, Superman just goes all injustice on them, and I'm sure everyone who's watching this knows what happens next. But it's him and how he connects with the DC universe that makes him so special. If there is a fight against Darkseid, he's there. If there is, something going on in Metropolis, he's there. If there's something going on in space, he's there. You know what I mean? He is what the Justice League sometimes is built around. There can be a Justice League with no Batman, as we've seen, because the Batman doesn't always like the Justice League. He sometimes thinks that it's not a good thing, right? There have been times where there's been no Wonder Woman in the Justice League. There have been a Justice League with just Superman, Green Arrow, John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, and I think it was Hawk Girl or something like that, and that's how they started one of the Justice Leagues in the comics. Now, I've never seen a Justice League without Superman. Do you know what I mean?
Well, this is the thing, and I saw someone mentioned, I don't know if they mentioned it or mentioned something which made me think of it, but the DCEU films we've got now, we have enough movies to have a solo movie for every member of the Justice League, plus a Justice League movie, right?
Yeah.
So we got Man of Steel, we got Wonder Woman, we got Aquaman, okay? Then, instead of a Batman film, we got Batman vs Superman. And then, instead of a Flash film and a Cyborg film, we've got Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey. And instead of a possible Green... Well, okay, I wouldn't say that's what took their places, but, I'm just saying. And then instead of a Green Lantern, which we haven't even seen yet, we got Shazam. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore Shazam. But
Shazam has always been one of my favourite superheroes way before the film. Like, his start at Fawcett Comics, like, just, I love that character. Billy Batson is one of the best characters in DC.
Let's say this then. So, merge Flash and Cyborg together, because Cyborg was going to be in the Flash film anyway.
Right,
so
fair enough.
We've had a film for Superman, we've had a film for Wonder Woman, we've had a film for Aquaman, okay? Instead of Suicide Squad, we could have had a Flash and Cyborg film. Instead of Batman vs Superman, we could have just had a Batman film.
Yeah.
And then instead of Birds of Prey, we could have had a Green Lantern film. And then we could have had Justice League. So they've done enough films at this point so that every Justice League member, obviously, give or take, Cyborg and Shazam, depending on who you want to keep, definitely Shazam. But there'd be enough movies and time to have had a solo film and then a Justice League film.
Yeah, they've definitely also made mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Like, they have gone, well, this character scores well with the public, so let's give them more of this character. Now, I'm not saying I don't want anything Birds of Prey, but Harley Quinn in the Birds of Prey and stuff like that, Harley Quinn being in that film is because Harley Quinn scored well in test scores from the Suicide Squad. There is a trail leading back to her in like positive DC reviews. People like her portrayal, and like not that I do because I'm a bit mixed on her portrayal, but people like her portrayal, and that's why they made that movie. But because before that movie, if Jared Leto's portrayal was liked, there was going to be a standalone Joker and Harley movie.
Yeah.
But people didn't like Jared Leto, so he was taken out of that project, and the Birds of Prey were chucked in.
Put it this way, right? Pretty much everyone loved Henry Cavill's Superman, right? Pretty much everyone.
Yeah, he's no Tom Welling, but I'll take him.
Yeah. Let's put this in perspective now. By the time Wonder Woman 84 comes out, Wonder Woman has been in more films than any other Justice League member that we've seen in DCEU.
Thank God as well, though, because like Gal Gadot carries those movies.
Wonder Woman, like, obviously I didn't see Man of Steel till more recently, and I did really like it, but Wonder Woman was like, for me, the first DCU film that I'd watched that I was like, was actually good.
That was actually good. Yeah, there was still the DC flaws. You know what I mean? There was still like a grey monster. Do you know what I mean? There was still stuff like that, but it was decent.
I'll give you a little sneak peek into my video. My flaw with Wonder Woman is that the whole, even though it wasn't the point of the film, the whole like backing of the film was female director, full female, leading film. Let's give the females the power, and great. That was perfect. But then it's Steve Trevor then that penultimately, if it went for him, they were screwed.
Yeah, I get that.
I was just like, yes, upset and he's died, but like I was all for this like full women thing, and now they've had a man pretty much without. Well,
it's like it's funny that that she is a she has that, you have that opinion of that, because the biggest criticism in the comics, I think, of Wonder Woman is that she always when she's written by men, falls to men. Like, one of the biggest things is she is a feminist idol, but also she abandons her home and abandons her female friends in order to run away with Steve Trevor in the comics.
Yeah, exactly. And like,
right.
Listen, right, I got no time for like the pure feminists that are out there that are just like men should have their parts chopped off just so they can feel
Yeah,
we
no,
feel.
I'm not.
Like, no,
I'm not about that life. I quite like my giblets where they are.
Exactly, right. But I'm like all for female power, right? And quite frankly, Wonder Woman did that until, you know, there was a bit of time where she was clearly a bit goo and gaga over Steve Trevor. But I was like, oh, she's still standing her ground. But then suddenly it's like, right, Steve Trevor has to make the sacrifice now, otherwise they just can't. Can't win.
Yeah,
so.
that could have been a flaw. I definitely see that. But like with the Superman thing, like if it's Henry Cavill, right, that's saying like I don't want to do a standalone Superman, like I'm willing to sign on to be in films and stuff, but I don't want my own movie. Like I don't want to do the standalones, which I don't see it happening. But then maybe it could be because he doesn't want to spend that much time on set, because he wants to work on other projects.
Steel being like, wasn't it like supposedly rumored in like 2018 that they were like at talks?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but like, if Henry Cavill is the reason, that Superman could not have his own standalone movie, in the way that the fans might hate me for this, just recast him. Just give us a new Superman. You know what I mean? You're giving us a new Batman. You could give us a new Superman. You can keep Aquaman. You can keep the Flash. You can keep Wonder Woman. Keep Cyborg. Keep whoever you want. Get rid of whoever you want.
Well,
but if you're rebuilding this as a singular thing and you're not building up to the next Justice League story, as DC have continuously told us that they're doing, they have continuously told us that they are working on making good standalone movies, and that they will not be connecting them needlessly in order to create some large cinematic universe the same as Marvel, because that's what they attempted at the start. They failed heavily, and this is not the way that DC is going to succeed. In fact, people will stop seeing DC movies, they will become unprofitable, and Warner Brothers will not want to make the movies anymore. Okay, so they have continuously said we're going to work on making good movies, and then they brought us Joker, and Joker was a slam hit of a movie. It won Oscars. It was a superhero-themed movie that was artfully done, artfully done, a genuine conversation on mental health was aroused because of it, and it's a perfect character study of someone who calls himself the Joker, but it doesn't have to be basically the Joker from the comics. It's just a character study, and they've used the comic book theme. No, exactly. They just used the comic book theme in order to interest the comic book universe, and then made a really good movie.
They've taken the concept of what Joker is and made a film with it.
Yeah.
As opposed to try and make a comic book accurate Joker film.
Exactly, and I'm okay with what they did with Joker, and that's standalone, and that's by itself. Now, if they're going to make standalone movies, we're getting a Batman trilogy. We're getting a new Batman trilogy. They're going to be standalone. There's not going to be Wonder Woman. There's not going to be Superman. Well, at the moment, there's no plans for those people to be in those films. I am 100% on board with that. Give us a Shazam 2. The only person Shazam needs to interact with that is another DC character is his villains. And guess what? We're getting a Black Adam movie. Cool.
Bro,
that's a standalone movie.
No matter what they do with the DCEU, they haven't got Ben Affleck anyway. So, bro, Flashpoint. If they're still planning to do whether they keep Ezra Miller on board with, you know, apparently things that have come up, whether they get Grant Gustin, whether they recast just as some other random guy.
It would be amazing if they did a Flashpoint in which they recast the Flash halfway through, but they started it off with Grant Gustin's Flash as the Flash.
What do you mean?
So they do a Flashpoint, right? In which they reset the DC universe so they can do their solo films again, and so Zod isn't dead. Right?
Yeah.
So, because that's the other thing about Man of Steel that I don't like. Zod's dead, which would be fine because he could be resurrected, but then he was resurrected into Doomsday.
I'd like a recast because I wasn't a big fan of Michael Shannon as Zod.
Okay, I respectfully disagree, and your opinion is trash. I'm joking. Your opinion is not trash. It's just not right. Anyway,
he's a banging actor. I just didn't feel it.
I really liked him as Zod. I thought he was a brilliant Zod. General Zod is just like, to me, he portrayed him very well. But I get where you're coming from though. You know, not everyone liked him. I think we need a new universe, and if we Flashpoint it, wouldn't it be cool if when they cast the Flash, they cast two Flashes, right? And then within Flashpoint, you see that person change into the new one when he comes back into the timeline.
Wouldn't that be confusing to like an audience that's not?
No, yeah, but I mean, it didn't have to be Grant Gustin. I use Grant Gustin as an example because that's what they could have done.
Even if it's just two random actors, isn't that going to be like?
Well, not if they're in the Flash suit, right? So you start, because the idea I can't, like, let me explain the idea. Let me show you the roots. The idea I actually have is they do a Flashpoint film. If they want to get rid of Ezra Miller, they still have him in the first half of the film. Okay, and he causes Flashpoint. And then, when he's trying to solve Flashpoint and he goes back in time, after he comes back in time, he looks in the mirror in the Flash suit, and he's a different actor. And then he's like, oh, I guess a lot more changed than I thought it did.
But surely he wouldn't change because he's just like, for example, if you're inside the Speed Force, time doesn't affect you, or, you know.
So that's not how the Flash works. So that's how the Reverse Flash works, because he doesn't exist as a moment in time. So the Reverse Flash separates himself from the timeline and separates himself in multiple stories, but most notably and most recently in the CW universe. There is a Reverse Flash that is connected to no timeline. So he had an original timeline. That original timeline collapsed, never happened, but he was in the reverse Speed Force, or in the Speed Force through the reverse.
The negative Speed Force.
Yeah, in the negative Speed Force, yeah. Through the Reverse Flashes thing, whilst his timeline was collapsing, and that allowed him to escape him disintegrating with the Speed Force, right? So he is the Reverse Flash. He hates Barry, all of the same stuff, but he's just not connected to any existing timeline anymore, right?
Yeah, okay.
And when Flashpoint happens, in a lot of the like, I'm not sure if this is the way it is in the comics, but I'm pretty sure in the movie, in the animated movie, I'm pretty sure he is one of those Flashpoint people, or he is one of those people where during Flashpoint, when he just looks at him, he's like, "What have you done? I remember the old timeline because I'm not connected to this one at all." But the Flash actually changes with his timelines, because when he's altering the timeline, he's altering his timeline. Right. So if he say is killed as a kid, that Flash will then cease to exist. Which is why when
I got you.
You know, so which is why when he stops his mother from dying, Flashpoint happens. Then he allows his mother to die, and everything goes back to the way it was. But because of the butterfly effect, not everything was exactly the same, so things change. But like, it changes in his universe, which means he can change as well.
Right, okay.
So when he changes things in the past, like his mother not dying anymore, like, yes, he should technically grow up to look the same. But like, when he goes back in the past, he could see that his mother's not going to die anymore, and then he sees the child that, you know, is going to become him when he grows up, and then he realizes that child doesn't look like what he looked like as a kid.
Okay.
And that's what I'm suggesting.
Works. Yeah, bro, that works. I'd love to see that.
Just because, like, if they're going to get rid of him, do it within the story. You know what I mean? And I don't think he's going to be so offended or anything like that he won't come back for half of the film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think he'll be quite gracious in saying, like, I get this, you know, you can't keep me on as a studio, and then, like, you allow it. But you never know, because actors can be temperamental, and maybe he'll have a strop about it, and maybe he'll not want to do it.
I mean, bro, literally, I make a good film.
Yeah, make
Whatever
a good film.
Make a good film.
That's just the catchphrase of this podcast at this point, isn't it? Just make a good film, please. Just make a good film,
bro. It's I want to segue really quickly, because I know this is meant to be your next turn, but something that's literally just come out, right? that I am like on the verge of crying because I've explained to you how bad I want this. So, episode 12 of season 2 of Power Rangers Beast Morphers.
Oh yeah.
Okay? It is titled. This is come out right now, so I apologize for that. The sharp segue. It's titled Finders Keepers. Okay, and it natural episode, but then a villain shows up, and this is news of people. There's so many reviews. I'm not actually going to watch reviews, but a villain shows up that the Beast Morphers Rangers have to fight, and apparently it's a villain from a past Dino team. And apparently then, by the end of the episode, basically, bro, it's a two-parter, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The crossover that I've been anticipating, right? Jason's returning. One thing I've said is make it 30 minutes long or 2 episodes long. And bro, it is 2 episodes long.
Well done. Well done, Hasbro.
Bro, you have no idea how excited I currently am.
I do, because I can hear it in your voice.
Bro,
I can hear
literally, I don't know, I think I got like a YouTube notification and I went to make sure my phone was on Do Not Disturb, and it was by this guy who was like, season 2 episode 12, Dino Teen-Up begins, and I'm like, you are, as a tear drops from my eye. So I wouldn't lie to you, as much as I was listening to your Flash, theories towards the end, I was kind of half to you and half to, are we actually getting a 2-part Dino crossover?
I think we are, and I will be tuned in because Austin St. John's coming back, and I'm not going to miss that.
Not only do we think it is, it's been confirmed, bro. Like the episode that isn't like it could be more than 2 parts, but the episode that officially isn't the main crossover, we are seeing Dino Charge heroes and villains like showing up.
Right.
But imagine like the Dino Charge Rangers come through and they're there for like an episode or 2 before the crossover even happens.
Yeah. I think it's going to be exciting, but I want to talk more about it when it comes out because I don't want to be disappointed. Because I also know that you were doing a fan theory video.
I do, bro. And the one thing was the fact that I wanted 2 parts.
Yeah. I think we should swiftly though, because although there may be more news, like the Wonder Woman 1984 promo images revealed there is a live action shot of Kristen Wiig's cheetah, and she does look a bit like a cheetah, so that's cool. But the other news I don't think is as pressing. As of recording this, more stuff might come out. But we should probably give our reviews on the what we watch. So, Nathan, this week, what did we watch?
In the best, worst Irish accent I can possibly do, Artemis Fowl.
Artemis Fowl. Nice.
We watched Artemis Fowl because that's a new film.
It was great. No, it wasn't. I mean, I don't know. It was alright. It was okay.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you know what? Yeah, go on. Let's get into it. We watched Artemis Fowl on Disney Plus, and I hope you guys watched along with us. It was out on the 12th, and as of this actually coming out, it'll be the Friday after it's come out. So we watched it together again. So we were present. And we had a bit of a running commentary going with it.
It felt like, I'll just say this first out the bat, it felt like it was a children's film that was trying to be a not so. It was a film that was dedicating itself to be a PG, but was trying to act as if it was a PG-13. If you get what I mean.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I just... I don't get it. I just don't get the film. I think I think it was definitely one of those setup films, like a Percy Jackson, right? It was definitely one of those ones that is meant to have more than one part. Whether it will get more than one part, I don't think so.
Well, it. When he gets shown the underground layer and he reads about all the stuff, it feels as if Artemis gains an understanding of what is going on, but we don't. Yeah. And then because he's like, he understands what's happening, and then he's like, oh, I understand. Okay, let's go. And we're just hang on, right? Well, what's going on? Surely they'll explain it. And whether they did, I don't know. Maybe I missed it. But
so I think with what we watch before. When we were doing these, we had a little less structure to them, and we sort of went on little rants. We'll still have our little rants, but I've got an idea for going through this film, because if you've all watched it, you all know what happens. I don't need us explaining exactly what happens again.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll do 3 pros and 3 cons each, if that's cool.
That's cool.
My biggest con of this film, and I will get into it straight away, is he is set up as the biggest child genius this world has ever saw, right? And he predicts, basically, like chess, I guess, predicts the moves of his enemies. Or rather, they're not really his enemies, but that's just the way the film is set out. Yeah. So he predicts the moves of his enemies, right? But he predicts the moves up until the one move that they make that he can then not predict, and someone nearly dies.
It's the one move that means something.
Yeah, the one move that actually means anything, and he doesn't predict it, and like, basically he's set up to be this child genius, but he's not really that smart in this film. We just see him catch some tubular waves and ride on a one wheel.
Yeah, like that was the one thing that I was like, oh bro, he's riding a one wheel.
Yeah, that's a
pro. Ren the Reaper all the way.
Yeah.
He
was definitely like, literally, like the therapist at the start says, like, do you respect no one because you think you're like better than everyone else? And he's like, no, I respect people. And
he's like, I respect like 6 people.
Yeah, and the guy's like, oh, who do you respect? He's like, Albert Einstein. He was mostly right with his theories.
Albert Einstein.
Albert Einstein. And he says it.
And it wasn't even like he's correct. He was like, he was almost correct with everything he said. And he's like, bro, even then you're making it sound out as if he's still like.
Yeah, even then you're better than Einstein in that. Yeah, and then like Josh Gad is describing him as I'll get into it, mate. Don't worry. He's describing him as like a child genius, and you'll never see what's coming, and you'll never get what's coming from him, and he's the best. He's this. He's that. And then he's just not, because a troll runs into his house and smacks him about. and the only good character nearly dies.
Literally.
So yeah, that's one of my biggest cons. Go on with you.
Right, so for me, a con per se is like I didn't feel like there was structure, let's say. I don't know about structure, but in terms of, we kind of see him before he's been like enticed in this kind of world of magic or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then once he is in it, then suddenly, now that we know it exists, suddenly I feel like a more predominant role was the fairies.
Yeah.
Instead of Artemis Fowl, I feel like they were the main characters.
They were a lot better for me than he was. And even, Judy Hench, she is, Judy Hench. Even though she sounded like Mrs. Brown from Mrs. Brown's Boys, she was doing it a bit. And I just, I think the fairies were, as a society, and like all the goblins and all of that stuff, that was all quite interesting, but we didn't really get to see much about that. It's Artemis Fowl who is the person that's supposed to be the main lead of attraction here, but how can he be the main lead of attraction when everything else that's going around him is just so much more intriguing? And you want to know so much more about the rest of the world, but you don't get like a Lord of the Rings adventure where your main character takes you through to explore the rest of this world, and as you explore you care about this character more and more. It's more of this film where like you're not going on an adventure with the kid. The kid stays in his house and some fairies try to attack him.
Well, exactly. Like there's one scene where they want to like activate magic again, and this one guy's like, "Oh, please, can we activate it again?" And like he's talking to Judi Dench. She's like, "Well, I didn't make you captain for nothing." And then like that was like a badass scene.
Yeah.
Artemis didn't have a scene like that. Like he didn't have a scene where like he.
Yeah, he didn't have that emotional climax scene, and like he trusted that fairy. Well, okay, this is my second con, so I'm going into it. He trusted that fairy way too quickly, and no one else was in the room with him just in case it went off. Like he takes his glasses off, and like she could have just straight up hypnotized him, and it would all been over then. Everything would have been done.
But like, granted, like obviously it's the fact that I guess he could see the move that she was gonna make, you know, chess, whatever. But even then, by the time we got to the end of the film, where we clearly see he can't see everything that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Then it kind of just it's like a really bad retcon that like they never intended for.
Yeah, it's just like she just trusts him way too soon, and I don't get it. I think I'm crapping on this movie a bit too much because I've given you 2 cons without giving you a pro. Let me give you a pro. You know what was delightful in this film?
What pro?
The butlers, the girl and the uncle of the girl.
The Morvoy butler, the Morvoy butler. Bro,
yes.
Nonzo Anozi, right? I hope I'm not butchering that name. Nonzo Azoni was the best.
Yeah, he was great in this film, and I just, as an actor, like, I want to see him in more stuff. I don't know what he's been in before, but he was great.
And bro, even though he's like most very much likely VFX, those blue eyes, bro, they were seducing.
Yeah, those eyes
falling for Nonzo Anozi.
Yeah,
I was Nonzo Anosiated over his eyes.
Nonzo Anosiated. That's great. He was great in this, and he had like this very silly what's it? He had this very silly white hair and blue eyes and stuff, and yeah, it could be a bit distracting in the movie, but like he was great in it. I feel like all the residents of the house, apart from Artemis Fowl, were like really good. Like Nonso Inozi, Tamara Smart, who plays Juliet Butler, and Colin Farrell, who, why the hell was he in this movie? He was way too good for this movie as well with the acting.
Who's this now?
Colin Farrell.
Right, yeah.
All the
senior.
Yeah, those people in this movie were like, they were top quality, and then I just think the kid was just not quite up to it. Like, it's not that he was bad at acting or anything. It's just he was written bad.
I looked up his credits, and he might have been in like stage performance before, but like Artemis Fowl is the first like official thing he's been in, I think.
Yeah, and I don't want to put
unless I didn't look at an updated site, like.
No, I'm pretty sure I looked him up. It's Ferdia Shaw, isn't it? I looked him up on IMDb. Pretty sure Artemis Fowl is the first thing he's done.
And I'm not by any means saying he was the reason it was bad. I just feel bad that even though his first thing is Disney Plus, oh my god, well done.
Yeah.
Like,
it's also not going to be great for the future of his career and stuff, cause
like the side characters were better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
than his character, not his acting, but his character.
Yeah, his character was written into the ground, I think, in this. Like he wasn't great. I mean, it would be great if, like, for that actor, if Artemis Fowl does get sequels.
Yeah, maybe he can be the main focus.
But like, you know, he needs to be written as more of a, you know, if he is supposed to be this like leader or something, like whatever he's supposed to be, like, really hammer that home, because like, although Judi Dench is taken out from her leadership, although she is second guessed by the people who are like, you know, above her, the inquirers or whatever they're called, and although she fails to control her command, she still feels like a better leader than Artemis Fowl, and he's outsmarted her, but she still feels like the better leader. Do you know what I mean? She still feels like the one. She becomes
like, what does she become? She becomes like the head of a unit or something back at like their base.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is going to be my last con, and then we'll have two more pros. But my last con is Josh Gad's voice in this entire film is the most annoying thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't know what he's trying to do. What is he trying to do? He sounds like he sounds like, in, you know, not to be insensitive to the people who, you know, have, you know, lost family members to it or anything, but he sounds like he's currently suffering from the virus. Do you know what I mean? He has that throat.
Think about this, right? Not only does he sound incredibly annoying, but he's a 5.5-foot man running around claiming he's a dwarf.
Yeah.
But he's
and
doing
the joke,
it in that voice.
Yeah. And the joke's supposed to be that he's a giant dwarf, and I get it, but it's, it's not written well. The joke's not written well into the movie. It's not seamless.
It feels more like they're just trying to make the joke. That's just what they're trying to do. They're not trying to make the joke so that, because obviously at the end of the film he doesn't, because he kept asking for him to be shrunk down to normal size.
Yeah.
I guess it's, a punishment, the fact that he's being granted height.
No, he he was just saying because the fairies have magic, he wants them to use the magic in order to make him a normal dwarf. Okay. But Judi Dench was like, no, because we always need a giant dwarf. Like, we always need someone your size who can dig like you can. And I get that in the movie because I remembered that. But, like, not everyone's going to remember that point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, people just won't get him as a character. And also the fact that he narrates the film with the dodgy voice. Like, it's not consistent. Yeah, like, the dad narrates, like, 5 minutes of the film, and I'm like, this feels good. Right? Colin Farrell feels good narrating this film.
Yeah.
But, like, Josh Gad in it is just, and he narrates, like, a lot of the film, and, like, the voice is inconsistent. It's, like, this really weird raspy tone, and he sounds ill. He sounds, like, really ill, like he constantly needs to cough.
Yeah, pretty much.
And, like, yeah, it's just... It's not great. Cons are over with, because I'll only give you 3. Not that there's that many more, but like the villain was quite weak, but I guess it was setting up for another thing, so yeah. The villain was weak. That's an extra con. I didn't sneak that in there.
Mm-hmm.
But two pros. One pro, I don't hate Holly Short in this. Holly Short is good as a person for Artemis to team up with. The way she was written was bad, but the actress was great at portraying Holly. Laura McDonnell.
I thought it was Lara.
Or Lara. Yeah, Lara McDonnell.
Yeah, she was good, bro. She was good.
She was great in this. The actress was super good. Not that Artemis Fowl's actor wasn't great, Ferdia, but like obviously he was written into the ground, and she was part of the fairies, and the fairies were a bit more interesting. Yeah, she got
to have his power was, I'm wearing a suit and wearing sunglasses. I can kind of basically feel what people are gonna do. Whereas she was like, I can use magic, I can fly, I can use all these cool contraptions, like I can fight this giant Bigfoot.
She had the sort of like I'm a fairy officer thing behind her. Like Artemis Fowl just knew about leprechauns. Like he's that guy. But I think she was a great actress. And then the last pro I will give is I was super impressed. Even though it came out on Disney Plus, and I shouldn't be impressed because it's a Disney film and we should expect this from Disney, but I was impressed with the VFX. There were dodgy moments, don't get me wrong, but they had some solid VFX.
There were a few moments where I feel like they did maybe do like a CG double of a person, and it kind of looked a bit rubbery, like if they were like flying past the camera or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, like the opening of the mouth with mulch. Like although one time it looked really good, like the other 2 times it looked quite bad.
Yeah.
Like there was the moments where it was a bit crap, but overall the fairy city, the fighting outside the when the time bubble happens over the Fowl Manor, all of that sort of stuff.
This is the
that
thing.
was great. VFX.
This emphasizes what you said about some's bad, some's great, because the way like they had the water simulation and the entire fluid simulation looked amazing. The one scene where the sailor like came from a frozen position and kept falling, very evidently CGI, but the water, like I'd rather like great looking fluid simulation of the ocean.
Yeah, and with films like this, you have to understand that this isn't 1917. You're not supposed to, think that this is a great visual effects film because you can't notice the visual effects. There are going to be visual effects because fairies don't exist. Right? So there are going to be visual effects. The aim is not to show the audience here that, nothing here is visual effects, because there are going to be visual effects. The thing is to trick them into believing that they are not part of the uncanny valley, or trick them into believing that some things that are VFX have been done practically. Like fairies on wires, if they are actually just in front of a green screen, that's been done great. But if they're on wires, then it could have been done equally as good, and the wires are just painted out, right? It's like the aim of this is to make everything look seamless, not real, because it's not real.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
bro.
But yeah, those are my pros. Those are my cons. Nathan, you may share some similar, but yeah.
Here's a pro for me, which is a good segue because it segues off of CGI and 1917.
Yeah.
So the Goblin Chief in this film, and this is a very British pro, but the Goblin Chief is played by none other than Adrian Scarborough. I think that's how you pronounce his last name.
The man himself.
The man himself. For any one who aren't really aware, and maybe out of the UK, he plays a very popular character in the show Gavin and Stacey, a guy called Pete, very funny character, but he's also got a big UK based, granted, big resume, let's say.
Yeah, he's in the credits of a lot of things.
Yeah, and he's been doing great, and I didn't know that was him, because the CG for the goblins, again, there was some dodgy bits, especially with their nose, but they looked great. The goblins looked really good, and when I found out that was him, when I looked back at the photo, I was like, oh my god, it is. But I wouldn't have noticed that before, because it was just so captivating, and just the entire thing in the the jail cell with the fire, the fire looked great, and then obviously there was a thing where he puts the fire up his nose, which is a bit weird, but yeah,
that was a bit odd. But no, I genuinely I was a bit taken aback by the fact that you were halfway through the film, you were like, that's Adrian Scarborough. That's Adrian Scarborough, and I'm like,
that's Pete.
I'm like, Adrian Scarborough, Pete from Gavin, Dawn and Pete.
Bro, literally, that man, again, he's by no means, not to my knowledge, had any leading roles in a film like a Disney film. No. But he's got some acting credits behind him, and I'd kill to have stuff like that.
He's got real good acting credits behind him. He plays a character called Raymond in Killing Eve, that's around for a while. He plays Major Hepburn in 1917. He's been in a bunch of stuff, but the thing is with him is he's just consistent, right? There's not major gaps in between work for him. He's always getting work, even though sometimes it's minor. I
feel there's people who will be in big movies and they'll be the leading role in big movies, but they'll have 3 movies where they're big roles.
Yeah.
Whereas he has smaller roles, but in a lot of movies.
Yeah,
I feel that beats out.
And he does a butt ton of TV.
Yeah.
More
definitely.
TV than he should be allowed to do. He's in everything. Yeah. He just does so much TV, and obviously he's famously Pete from Gavin and Stacey, but that was great. So that's a pro. You got any more pros or cons about this film that I already didn't bring up?
I know I've said about Nonzo Azoni, Nonzo Anozi, which was great. Tamara Smart as Juliet Butler was great as well. I feel like they did a great use of, because I'm not going to say colour was utilised a lot, because it was very much a lot of greens and a lot of blacks. They had their suits on all the time.
Yeah.
Their house was kind of dark, but then you had the fairies, which are very bright green. But I feel when it came to using their special abilities and using the time bubble, they were look, this film is not down to earth by any means, but this film is a very specific colour palette. So when we're doing these big effects, let's just have fun. Let's just make this look cool. And again, I suppose you just put that back to VFX, but they knew when they needed a bit more just a little bit of spice to that.
A little bit of spice, as Nathan likes to, check on the pod.
As Nathan likes to quote, buddy, what's his name, Chris Eubank.
Yeah, just add a little bit of spice.
But yeah, no, I feel
that was nearly a really good Chris Eubank impression.
Bro, that was pretty much everything as Chris Eubank impression.
Yeah,
just nobody can be as quiet and as smooth as that man. Like people can be like, people have a smooth voice, but his voice is just a smooth, just curve. It's just a sphere.
Yeah, it is a sphere. His voice is a sphere. He was a good boxer back in the day. Right. Have you got any more pros and cons, or should we rate it?
I think we should rate it. I think.
Okay.
One more con. I'll just say I feel like it was advertised, and I feel like a lot of films do that anyway. But it was advertised to be a lot more than it was.
Yeah.
I did, but again, that's people who work on the film aren't always the people who work on the advertisement. So
no, yeah, it very much in the advertisements felt grander in scale than we actually got.
Yeah, definitely did. And when you see like those photos, like every time I turn on my PlayStation, it's like Disney Plus, Artemis Fowl, recommended, and it's like this really cool photo of him in his suit with his glasses, and he's like all this spell stuff going on behind him, and it's really bright and really in your face.
I feel like a lot of this film was a green screen stage, props, and then just that Artemis Fowl house.
Something I compared it to was Arthur and the Invincibles. Is it the Invincibles?
Yeah, Arthur and the Invisibles, I think.
Invisibles, okay. It reminded me a lot of that. And even though there wasn't like the animated element when they shrink down.
Yeah, you know what I'll give you? I give you that just only because I think you're drawing comparison between like the kid looks like the kid. Like they look the same.
Well, not even that. I don't even remember what the kid looks like. I'm just talking about the way the fairies look and the way CG is. Like it just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, it gives you that same sense of like childlike wonder, sort of that they're trying to go for. But I think the Arthur and the Invisibles first movie, I think that did it a bit better, to be honest.
Yeah, well that's another thing. Like it wasn't like in the city, this that it wasn't like in New York, in California. They were like, I'm not gonna call this film small town. It was just out in the middle of nowhere, but it was
out somewhere in Ireland.
Yeah.
It was good, but it was bad. It was good, but it was bad. It was,
it was Scoob.
Yeah,
Scoob was better, I gotta say.
Well, I mean, nah, because I like Scoob more than I like this, to be honest.
Bro, I liked Scoob more than like this, and anyone who's watched the pod knows how I feel about Scoob. And
can I just say, this entire time we all need to realise that the villain all along was Dick Dastardly.
Dick Dastardly. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it, and the man delivered.
The man, the legend himself, Dick Dastardly. So for watchability, will I watch it again? I won't give it too low of a score. I will say a 3, because if they make another one, then yes, maybe I will.
Right. Well, I don't think. No, I'm gonna have to stop you and disagree. I don't think you can say, like, if they make a sequel, I'll watch the sequel. Like, that's a different film.
No. I mean, I'll rewatch this film if they watch if they bring out a sequel.
Oh, I got you.
It's the same as like I watched the last 3 episodes of the last season of something I watch when a new season comes out.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Just to catch up where I am. So maybe I'll actually lower that. I'll give it a 2.5 because it's out of 5, so it's a half.
For enjoyment, would you watch it again? Like just for entertainment?
For enjoyment, for entertainment, 2. A 1.75.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not.
And would you rewatch it? No.
Yeah.
Like for example, now if you're with your girlfriend, she's like, "Oh, what's a good film?" Like, would you suggest Artemis Fowl?
I don't know if I'd suggest it, but if she wanted to watch it, then I'd definitely watch it with her.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I feel like I'd kind of give the same.
Yeah, because it's not something that's terrible to sit through. It's definitely one of those you can switch your brain off and just watch the movie. But like something like this compared to a film like Knives Out, I think is just, you know what I mean? It's a completely different. Yeah. Exactly. It's a completely different ball field. Like, I would actively like be like, you need to watch Knives Out compared to like Artemis Fowl. Skip it if you want, but it's alright.
But again, like the thing with Knives Out and any film like that is that you don't know. Like you're trying to find out what's happened. But even after finding out, I watched it again, and when like the big reveal happened, I still got chills. Like, it was so good. Whereas I feel like the ending to, you know, for example, when Butler gets like revived, I don't feel like I didn't get chills the first time realistically because I was kind of like, as a PG, like, if he actually died, I would have been like, damn, respect. Like, you know me, like, I love it when a character dies just because it's like a
because you know they're going hardcore with it.
Yeah, exactly, and I like it.
Stargirl.
It's like, no, but it's like when guys are like, oh, I hope Iron Man comes back. I don't, okay, because otherwise Endgame his death meant nothing.
I hope he comes back as an AI, but like in phase fucking 8.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, I feel like with this film, it was cool to find out the way things unraveled, but there's films that, you know, you can see so many times and still get chills from like seeing like the conclusion to something, whereas I just don't think this film has it.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think, I think you're right there.
I reckon for my rank, you know when we're doing the point system, are we doing the point as in 2.5 just meaning a half, or are we actually doing like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6? Can we do that?
2.5 is basically just half, yeah.
But are we so I can't, for example, say like 2.1.
Well, yeah, if you wanted to.
Well, I'll give it a 2.8 then, because I feel like
right.
it deserves a little bit more than 2.5 just because. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna give it a 3, just solely for the VFX and for non-so nosy.
Yeah,
and,
I think it's got redeeming qualities, and as of course it should be, because obviously it has it's a Disney property. I'm
gonna give it a 3 out of 5, just specifically for.
Is that enjoyability or rewatch?
That's enjoyability. I'm not rewatching this again.
Is that just like a 0?
Yeah, not unless like if like Bethan wants to watch it, like I'll sit with them watch it, and I won't, you know, hate myself. Like I can watch it. I won't have to be like, oh, let me grab my phone and do this. Like, yeah, I can sit through it, but it's never gonna be. Oh, I'm bored. This was a good film.
Would you say
watch this.
Would you say like a 1 on the rewatchability?
I'll give it a 1.
Okay.
As in a 1-off.
Fair enough. Oh, do you know what? That's quite funny. I'll give it a 1-off as well. I'll give it a 1-off. Like maybe I'll watch it as a 1-off. And then an enjoyability for 3, maybe. I'm gonna say 2.5.
I'm again. I'll just clarify. I'm saying 3 just because again, the VFX to like this fascinating what they did with it, and it looks really great. And also just like, for example, was it Lara McDonnell and Nonzo Nosy and Tamara Smart? They were really great, and I forget his name, but Fowl Senior. What's the actor's name?
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell, yeah, all of them are great, and even the kid who played Artemis Fowl, like they were all, you know, acting wise.
You're right. But that's the thing. I liked exactly half of this movie. So like, it's for me, it's like a 2.5 because I liked exactly half of it. Like, I didn't like it more than I hated it, and I didn't hate it more than I liked it. I think it sat very much in the middle.
I feel like for me, it's like I didn't enjoy the film that much, but the things that I liked.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I didn't think they were cool.
Like, I'm someone of trash taste. I like things that are bad on purpose a lot of the time.
Yeah, like ironically.
Yeah. Like, don't even just ironically. Like, there are some films that I realise that are terrible films, but I enjoy watching them. It's just on this one, not so much. Like, if there's a second one, I'll definitely watch it just to see where they go with it, because I've heard the books are great.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, there's lots of things that have great books, but then they just don't really translate well to the screen.
To screen. I can definitely agree with that.
Because just someone as an example, in a book, if you say it's set in Ireland, okay, the readers don't have to read an Irish accent, whereas you have to get actors who can do
an Irish accent. Yeah, definitely. I think that was probably important to the author as well, because I'm pretty sure the author of the book is Irish.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've given our ratings. Everyone knows what we think about it. Next week we are going to be watching. Nathan, what are we going to watch? Upgrade. Nice stuff. So that film is Sick with a double I. I love that film. And Nathan's not watched it, and we've mentioned it on the podcast way too many times for him to have not watched it now. So every time I reference Upgrade, he's going to know what I'm talking about. So next week we'll have watched Upgrade. Everyone watch along with us. If you can find it on your streaming platforms, you can find it anywhere near you. Just try to find Upgrade and watch it along with us. Anything you want to say before I wrap us up?
Still very hot. Hopefully we can sort the heaters out so that we're not cold, but at the same time, we're not melting.
Yeah, I'm legally blind. My eyeballs have melted. So, I'm going to have to wrap this up, and then Nathan's going to have to press stop on the pod for me. But thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of Live from the Batcave. If you liked it, give it a like and stuff like that. If you disliked it, still give it a like, because I like to see likes. Subscribe if you want to see more. Although you don't have to, because I see a lot of views that we've had recently have been from people who aren't subscribed, but I would love it if you'd like to stick around. So if you do want to stick around, subscribe to the channel. We are posting this every Friday at 6:30, so, if you want to subscribe, you'll get the notification either way, but 6:30 every Friday is when we're going to post it.
BST. British Summer Time.
That is, British time. So convert that from GMT to wherever you are. Okay, I think that's everything. So, thank you everyone for watching. Come back next week, and goodbye.